Hi, I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Rihanna, and welcome back to Fresh Off the Brook.
Fresh Off the Brook is about personal experiences growing up Asian American in a predominantly white community, Asian media, and Asian pop culture in general. Race has always been a sensitive topic. Every day, there are debates over race. With our podcast, we intend to shed light on the experiences of first-generation Asian immigrants, not put them on a pedestal.
We understand that race isn't everything, but there should be an acknowledgement of people of color, the knowledge gap, and the racial divide that will ideally be broken. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into the episode. Today, we will be discussing getting a bad grade. As you may be able to tell from the title, this episode is another FOB fact episode. Yay! My favorite.
It was time.
So, as much like our other FOB fact videos, we're going to be discussing like certain scenarios in FOB facts and like how to survive them. Think of them as like survival guide type episodes.
Very story time, like experience, informal advice. FOB fact, like when they say fun fact.
What FOBs?
FOB life hack, things like that. And yeah,
this episode will be about how to survive getting a bad grade.
So the reason why we wanted to do this episode was because grades are a huge deal when it comes to growing up Asian, being an Asian student. Then, I mean, all your life, you're compared to everyone. Your teachers compare you, your parents compare you, you're compared to your friends, compared to your siblings, compared to your cousins. And there's just this big emphasis on doing well in school because doing well in school is seen as a catalyst to you getting a job and then getting money and then supporting your family through filial piety, which we already know what that is. And if you don't, it's the concept where children are supposed to honor their parents and support their parents and like take care of their parents because they're the child of their parent. It's all about, like respecting authority, things like that. And so this episode, like we were saying about life hacks, FOB facts, fun facts, it's kind of giving some advice on how to cope with getting a bad grade. Since, I mean, no one really likes getting a bad grade or not doing well.
Yeah.
But sometimes, at least in our experience, when you're Asian, you get a bad grade, it can just feel very worst case scenario. This is a nightmare. How am I going to tell my parents? I'm a failure. And like I was saying with the expectation that you're supposed to support your family, when there's such a big emphasis on school and you just have to do well in school no matter what, you feel really guilty because, and I think we talked about this in the past, but being the child of immigrants, knowing what your parents sacrificed or what your family ancestors sacrificed to come over to this other country, you feel guilty because you feel like you're wasting it away, even though it may be, and we will get into this later, it is a singular grade. And so we're just helping everyone kind of assess the situation from a hypothetical standpoint, but also from our own personal experience, having received a bad grade or just having not done as well as you wanted to or we wanted to.
And also, like, to add on to all of that on why this is such a big deal for people, there's also, the stereotype of Asians being smart. And sometimes, I mean, again, we're going to get into
minority.
Yes. we're going to get into it, but from personal experience, sometimes you'll get a bad grade, and if people find out, they could be like, oh, why'd you get a bad grade? Aren't you supposed to be Asian? Or I've even heard like, you're not a real Asian then, since you're getting a bad grade.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also very taxing on a person, even if you
Mm-hmm.
like, like think I'll just brush it off. Like hearing that can be difficult and it's annoying, but hard to hear.
Yeah, because then it feels like on one hand you're going through something. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but
Yeah.
you're going through some stress. You're going through, you have some pain right now,
Uh-huh.
and then these people are making you feel bad for even feeling the pain.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I remember, I don't even know how many episodes ago at this point, but one episode I was talking about how I had my math teacher. I had participated in like a math contest or like a math challenge kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I, so I did well in it, but she made the comment that she thought I would do better.
Mm.
And I wasn't sure how to feel about it because I couldn't help but think that she was talking about that because of the fact that I was Asian.
Mm-hmm.
It was a math thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then why did you think that I would do better? Because the thing is, I did well. Uh, and I mean, you can always do better.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. But it's just the way you would have thought that I'd be congratulated.
Yeah. Because yeah, you
And so it
did.
feels a little backhanded or just something about it just felt kind of icky.
Mm-hmm.
To add on to what Rihanna was saying about model minority, I just think it added a lot of excess or extra stress onto Asian kids because there's more shame associated with not doing well.
Mm-hmm.
And then you feel like you can't show your true face or you can't be vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
and show that that had happened to you because there was this expectation that was put on you by everyone that you should have, I don't know, gotten 100% on that math test or whatever. And then you actually didn't. And rather than just getting the grade and thinking, oh man, I didn't do as well as I thought, you have all these other things that you're thinking about. You're thinking, oh man, I really didn't do as well as I thought. What are people gonna say? If people are gonna, I don't know, like make fun of me or whatever, because I'm supposed to be good at math, and then my my parents are gonna be mad. I'm gonna get yelled at tonight, or blah
Mm-hmm.
blah. All these different things. And like I said, getting a bad grade is an experience that can happen to anyone. You don't have to be Asian.
Uh-huh.
We're just talking about it from the Asian lens because we are Asian.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Fresh Off the Bros. Yeah, I just think it's a shame.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a shame as in it sucks that that has to happen.
Yeah.
You can't be anything less than your best,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
Or the best, I mean.
Yeah.
I'll be the first to admit that even though we are doing an episode about coping with getting bad grades and navigating it, figuring things out, I'm gonna be completely honest, just full out, straight up. I don't tell my parents. I still don't.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know how. I would rather die. It's just
Yeah.
I can't,
Yeah.
and so I don't. And I mean, if you've been a long time listener of this podcast, I think you understand why I wouldn't tell my parents.
Mm-hmm.
I
Just
I
no.
try not to talk to them in general anyway.
Hmm.
It's And I don't encourage this for everyone. I think if there is a way, then you should pursue it or to talk about it. Because I have reason to why I my relationship with them is the way that it is. And so when I or if I just don't do as well as I think I or as I wanted to, or more bluntly speaking, if I scored lower than the like stereotypical good Asian score, like anything less than an A, I don't bring it up. Because the thing is,
Hmm.
my parents, I don't really know if I talked about it. I think I have on podcast. Sometimes it's a little hard to differentiate because Rihanna and I talk to each other about our personal lives,
Yeah.
and that feels like a podcast in itself, even though it doesn't get aired. So sometimes I get a little confused, but they don't really listen when I talk about anything. And so they wouldn't know to ask how I did on some assignment because they didn't even know it existed. Not because I didn't tell them it existed, it's because they just weren't listening when I told them about it. And so I just float by that way and I don't tell them if I did well or not on the thing.
Hmm. Yeah, no. Unless my parents find out on their own, I'm never sharing anything unless it's, even if it's a good achievement, I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it sets the expectation of I'm sharing or I'm
Mm-hmm.
comfortable with sharing and opens up
Mm-hmm.
the conversation of, so how's school going? What happened to
Mm-hmm.
that thing? What are you doing now?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do remember this actually scarred me. This is the reason why I like hide like grade stuff from my parents. This is probably the worst one, actually. Um, like the worst scenario.
Yeah.
I was very young. I was probably in like the fourth grade or something. And I did really, really badly on some math test.
Yeah.
And I remember like there was a supply teacher and everything when we got this test. But I just did so badly on it. I think, and it was weird, especially for my teachers to see that I did so badly on it because it was a math test. And at that age with like very basic math, I was very good at very basic math. Like just
Uh-huh.
very fast at like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, just all of that. Mental math, like I was super good at it. And that
Mm-hmm.
already put me at an advantage. So everything else like was relatively easy for me. But it was a conversions math test. So it was straight up just like 1 kilometer equals how many meters.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember because we had a supply teacher, she just gave us the test, didn't actually teach us like what the conversions were.
Mm-hmm.
So I just remember like taking the test and being like, I don't know, but whatever. And then I think like the next day or whenever my teacher graded it, she like pulled me outside of the classroom and asked me like, Rihanna, how many meters are in a kilometer? Like just ask me like verbally questions. And
Mm-hmm.
I answered them correctly. And she was like, okay, why did you get like a 5 out of 25 on this test then? Or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, like she already pulled me out. And as a kid who was such a high achiever, I just flipped out internally and was just freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I had to redo the test and everything and like sat outside by myself and did it again. Um, blah blah blah, whatever. But I thought that would be the end of that because I redid the test and then regraded it, and it was like perfectly fine. Like I think I probably got like close to perfect on the next test that I did. I was just panicking the first time and
Mhm.
didn't really know what I was doing.
Mhm.
But then like I completely forgot about it. It was maybe like in the middle of the year. But then on my report card, I didn't read my report card. I just gave it to my mom. And I went to my room and my mom was reading my report card. And then I hear my mom call my name. It was like, come to the kitchen right now. My mom was sitting there reading my report card, serious face. And she like read out what my teacher wrote in the report card. And it was straight up just like, Rihanna is very good at math, or like shows proficient skills in math or whatever, yet performed very poorly on a conversions test.
Why would your teacher even mention that?
I don't even know, because I did it again and was perfectly fine. So I don't even know why she would write that. Like there was no mention of the retest or whatever. But like my mom read it out and just looked at me and was like, explain. And I was a kid and I just panicked. And I was like, I froze. I didn't know what to do. And obviously I'm already feeling awful because, you know, the way I was raised, the expectations that were placed on me, I thought I was capable of doing better. Even though this was a 4th grade math test, it really did not matter at all. I still like felt so awful. So then being confronted like that, I was like, this is the end of the world. Like I'm gonna die right here, right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And like luckily, well not luckily, but like luckily, the way that my mom handled that was just, obviously she was really disappointed and upset, but she just like gave me the look of like, I'm mad and upset, and then just hit me with the don't do that again. And that was it. And have I done poorly on tests after? Of course I have. What's the thing I didn't do after that? I didn't tell my mom anything.
Yeah.
But
My parents don't know about
yeah. Like
anything. I
like
mean,
no, I'm not telling. I'm not sharing anything ever.
mhm.
Like again, like my parents knew, everyone knew that math was a strong suit of mine because of like the extracurriculars I was placed in for math. But the extracurriculars only focused on like bare bones of math. I didn't learn my conversions, so I didn't know it. But obviously, I'm expected to know everything at that age for some odd reason. Um so yeah, that is like my ingrained story of getting a bad grade and parents finding out, or at least my mom finding out and telling my dad, but my mom being the one to confront me about it.
Yeah,
God, to this day, I
that
can
sounds
still imagine my
horrifying.
mom's face, and I hate it. It was so scary. What about you? Have you had a similar?
I haven't.
That is good.
They'll never know. I mean, generally speaking, Rihanna and I do well and do fine in school. Uh, why are you silent?
Well, I was gonna just, add, I used to do well in school. I think my standards for doing well, it's not that I'm doing badly. I'm just not doing as well as I like used to. Again, we are in a higher level of education in our lives right now. Um, compared to like elementary school, especially.
Conversion.
Yeah, for real. But no, I agree with that. We aren't like, we don't consistently have very low grades. We are
No.
like good students.
Yeah.
Tiffany 1,000 times more than me,
Okay,
but
don't do that.
no. I have to point it out.
We don't even study the same thing. You're not even there to know that.
I don't think I need to be there to know that.
Okay, let's move on. What was
No,
I
but
talking about?
I'm glad that you don't have a similar experience of like being forced or not being like being forced
Yeah.
to or like being
I
outed
mean,
of having a
yeah,
bad grade.
because the thing is, the reason why it's because something like that just hasn't happened before. Like, no, like I wasn't exposed in writing,
Mm-hmm.
and then there isn't really a way that they would see it
Uh-huh.
anywhere. Because I mean, how would they get access to the website of where we see grade
Yeah.
and things like that?
Yeah.
And then, like I was saying, they don't listen when I talk, and so they wouldn't even know to ask. They
Mm-hmm.
have asked me, for instance, how my grades are. So they asked me what my average is, or I've been asked what my GPA is,
Mm-hmm.
even though they don't really know what that is. Because, like I mentioned before, they didn't really have much of a formal education.
Mm-hmm.
My dad finished high school, and my mom finished middle school. And so GPA is kind of a foreign concept.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it also is a foreign concept
Yeah.
and because you
Literally
get the
is.
point.
Yeah.
Mhm. And so those are kind of factors behind why it never really happened. And then, so in a way, I got lucky. Like, they just wouldn't know to act, they wouldn't know where
Mm-hmm.
to look. And then I would just deathly quiet about it,
Mm-hmm.
beating myself up internally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, like knowing the both of us, and I'm sure a lot of people are the same way, like it sucks on top of like everything when parents find out or where when people make you feel bad, like like the Asian comments, because like
Mm-hmm.
you're probably already internally really upset with yourself anyways,
Mm-hmm.
like unreasonably so.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's just based on the culture we're raised in. We've been given these high expectations for ourselves, therefore we're harsh on ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's kind of sad because I mean it is sad, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really important. I'm not a parent, but I just have an opinion. I think that when your kid is going through something or when they encounter a problem, they should want to tell you about it or want to talk to you about it
Mm-hmm.
to work through it rather than just be so terrified of the thing itself and then
Mm-hmm.
also of how you're going to react to that thing.
Uh-huh. That's a
Because
bad sign
it's
as a parent.
this is going to sound super late night talk, just that. Like children are innocent beings, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I think those formative years are just really important. I mean, today, today I went to some relative's house to pick up sticky rice
Oh yeah.
that their mom made, and they have two sons, very little. I don't know how old they are. One might be kindergarten age,
Mm-hmm.
one is younger. And they were just so cute, and that's such a thing about little kids, like the way they see the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very important to let kids be happy when they're kids. And
Yeah.
I don't mean that in the spoil them way. I just mean I think it's very important to protect the innocence of children,
Mm-hmm.
and they should be allowed to be innocent in their innocent years.
Yeah, for sure.
and it's a
Like,
huge loss when they're not.
mhm.
It ruins them
Yeah, like
growing
we
up.
shouldn't be burdening kids with the ideas of, oh, I need a good grade. I need this. I need that.
Or
I
even
need these
just,
achievements.
yeah, just ways of disciplining them or turning them into very, because they don't really understand, they don't know what these concepts are.
Yeah, they just like grow up to or not grow up, but they just accept them because they're told like
Hmm.
this is the way it is. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
and
blindly follow because I'm a child.
they grow up to fear their parents, and I just think
Uh-huh.
that's not.
That's awful.
Yeah, because I mean, we weren't necessarily conscious to remember when we started doing that, but I just can't imagine fully feeling how I may have felt when I learned that I should probably, or that I should be afraid of my parents, or I
Yeah.
just can't.
Yeah.
Because you learn from observation. Kids mirror people all the time.
Mm-hmm. Just sad.
Hmm.
I'm sure a lot of people listening would sympathize or understand the feeling, like that like crushing feeling of getting a bad grade.
Hmm.
um and I'm sure we all know, like, it feels awful. It feels like this is it, like this is what I've amounted to, you know.
Hmm.
um and personally, even though it still affects me, and it's just, these are still things that I use, like there are ways to make yourself feel a little bit better, cheer yourself up,
Hmm.
or like understand the situation better.
Hmm.
I think the first thing a lot of people think about are, like it's a singular grade. It's
Hmm.
one number out of the like millions of numbers you'll get in your academic history. Uh,
Hmm.
um, and as long as you understand, like, okay, this was a bad thing, I'm going to try and do better to improve, everything's fine.
Hmm. It's
And
important to assess.
uh-huh. Um think beyond the singular grade. There's a bigger picture. There's a bigger picture as to why you are, in an academic setting in the first place, whether it be like, for a job, or just simply because, like the pursuit of knowledge. Both are incredibly valid, and both, like, a singular grade is not, should not, and are not reflective of your journey.
Hmm.
Like,
And yeah,
no, go on.
are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. And I have two. I'm trying to think of one to say first. So I guess the first thing is, so sometimes, yes, that singular grade can mean a lot because maybe it was a big chunk of your overall mark,
Mm-hmm.
and then it affects your overall mark. Or maybe the class was poorly taught. That happens. We all know it happens sometimes, and then
Mm-hmm.
everyone kind of gets screwed over,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not really sure what to do because you have this terrible number on your sheet, whether that be on your report card or just on your test paper. And one thing that I've learned, which basically is the same with what Mariana was saying about thinking beyond the grade, is sometimes you just, it really sucks. And you can't, sometimes you may be able to talk to the teacher or talk to a TA or some type of educational support, and you might be able to talk it out if perhaps you thought, if it was a circumstance where you thought it was misgraded you could talk about it or whatever, but sometimes you kind of have to swallow the really hard pill that was that bad grade and then move forward.
Mhm.
And that's not to say move forward as in pretend nothing happened, just feel nothing, think nothing, just go on with it. I mean, you kind of have to swallow and accept that pill of a grade
Uh-huh.
and then assess it. Like think about what happened. Say you failed a biology test or a biology exam. Why did that happen? Was it because you didn't study? Was it because maybe you didn't have enough time to study? Was it because you didn't really understand the concept, etc., etc.? Just kind of thinking about why this happened,
Mhm.
and then thinking of ways for this not to happen again, or maybe things that just could be done differently in the future. It helps to look forward and make plans.
Mhm.
And that's not to say you can't be sad about it. You can sit there and feel your emotions and let it out, whether that be through
Mhm.
crying or just being sad, just
Yeah.
feeling the emotion.
Yeah.
You shouldn't just hold like bottle it up and explode or whatever. I think you should
Uh-huh.
feel them, let them be felt, let them, I don't know, like run their course. And then once you feel like it had all like come out, to think about
Next steps.
yeah, and reflect on it.
Yeah. Like,
Because at the end of the day, and this is really hard. I mean, one time I had a group project that was worth a big part of my mark, and then the group project just went beyond sideways,
uh-huh.
and it really messed up my grade in the class. And I was really hung up on it. I tried to see if I could contact someone to maybe get help, but I could not get help. And I just thought to myself that I have to accept this result, or I have to accept what this is.
Mhm.
If I can't change it, if nothing can be done, I have to accept it and move on
Mhm.
rather than stay here for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Which is dramatic, but you get the picture. You can't just
Yeah.
stop time and just stay here and be sad and mad about it
Uh-huh.
forever. You can't be sad and mad about it. You can. You can sit and be sad and mad about it for
Like,
five
you
minutes
should be.
or an hour. Yeah.
Just don't let it stop you from continuing to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's ultimately, like, again, it's so much easier to say this, but like, these should be learning moments. A way, like, a, something that stops you in your tracks and makes you think, like, okay, hey, maybe the way I'm studying isn't working out. Maybe my current lifestyle isn't working out. Just
Mm-hmm.
whatever the situation is, it's a moment of like learning about yourself, learning about maybe like the way you work with other people, anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be upset. And I think that's also a really big part of it. So I really appreciate that you were, bringing up the fact that you should be able to feel these emotions. Because again, especially within Asian culture, emotions are hella repressed.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always this mentality, or you could fall into this mentality of like, I just need to move on, just move on. Like, no, let yourself process it. Like, yeah, that sucks. You got a bad grade. Maybe it's worth a lot, or maybe you worked super hard on a project and you still did like poorly. That sucks, and you should feel bad. Like that would make anyone feel bad. Um, and I think also, it's important to know, like, yes, parents will get upset if they somehow find out, but and even people like around you may like, make little comments, but people don't see the full picture. People don't see how you're studying or what's going on in your life. um there are so many contributing factors to getting a bad grade. It's not a reflection of you, or not a reflection of like your intellect or you as a student or you as a person. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
reflection of like what's going on in this specific moment of time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there are so many other reasons as to why you could have gotten a bad grade, or you did get a bad grade. And people don't see that. Only you see the full picture. So don't let these other people, like, don't let these comments get to you. They don't see what's going on in reality. Also, if you're like, if people are making comments at all, like, maybe those people just suck. Because you shouldn't be making comments like that on other people's grades.
And one thing that I've done that helped just on a day-to-day basis, it if you're able to, you can like one thing that you can try to do is tune out, for instance, like your parents, or tune out whoever it is that is
Upsetting.
trying to hound you and make you feel bad about that.
Uh-huh.
And I'm trying to think of how to word this, because it could come off the wrong way about tuning out. It's just because sometimes there can just be a lot of heavy negative energy
Uh-huh.
where say you get a bad grade and then you're just being yelled at, you're stupid, you're lazy, you're this, you're that. Or even just like say before a test or before something, there's just a lot of comments being made, a lot of
Uh-huh.
expectations. I usually try my best to tune it all out. I tune out the conversation.
Mhm.
It helps me kind of get rid of some stress, some information that I probably would be better off not knowing anyway.
Mhm.
And it helps me stay present and also tolerate being there.
Mhm. Also, like, it'll help you focus on what matters, which is like
Mm-hmm.
whatever test or whatever project or whatever presentation you have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard. And
It really
again,
is.
like, you could probably tell by the way that I was like talking about how I don't even think I'm that good of a student anyways. Um but like, it's especially pursuing higher education, it's been really difficult coming to terms
Mm-hmm.
with the fact that, like, you will get bad grades. It's something that will happen. um
Mm-hmm.
but I've realized as I've gotten older, and it's easier now that I'm older, because there isn't like the expectation that, I have this report card that I have to get my parents to sign or whatever.
Uh-huh. Oh my
um
gosh.
yeah, it sucks. Like, it the the person who will make you feel the worst most likely will be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, your parents can say the rudest things to you, yes, whatever, but if you were raised like that, you are probably making yourself feel the worst. There's that
Yeah,
guilt.
they say you're your own worst critic.
Yeah. So I know, especially for me, like, once I reached a point where I didn't need to get my parents to sign my whatever, like, look over my grades and everything, I realized that, like, wow, a lot of this bad feeling when I get a bad grade is just me. Like, I'm the one making myself feel this awful. I'm the one stopping myself.
Mm-hmm.
um and it's helped me, like, redirect that energy into, okay, like, I probably didn't study properly. I probably focused too much on this and not on this. And it's helped. And I hope that, if you are someone listening and you struggle with this internal battle, like, this can help. And it's not the end of the world.
It's not. It feels like it right now, or it will feel like it, or it has felt like it for us. But
For
it
sure.
is not the end of the world.
No.
No,
And
believe me, I cried about the
yeah.
this group incident thing.
Yeah. Just and like it's harsh, but like you were saying, Tiffany, you can't stop time and just sit and think. Like, things still happen. So
Yeah.
take the time that you need to be upset and feel all those emotions,
Mm-hmm.
but just try to learn from that.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's it.
Your grades are not the defining feature of your worth as a person.
Mm-hmm. And you're not your grades. I mean,
No.
one thing that's frustrating about education itself is grading, because
Mm-hmm.
that's not to say you can't grade. It's just sometimes I get a little sad thinking about how learning has become almost like a competitive sport.
Yeah, 1000%. I mean, you know, as someone who is interested in education as a whole, like, it's such a big issue because a lot of educators understand and acknowledge like standardized testing or just having to give grades in the first place is just so counterintuitive to like wanting to motivate kids to just seek out education
Mm-hmm.
because it's something that's good and
Mm-hmm.
interesting and just benefits people. But
Mm-hmm.
there is no really other way to set up a system, especially like a public education system.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult, and it's easy to like have that just become the thing that defines you.
Yeah.
And I think especially as an Asian kid in a Western setting, it's especially bad because other people see that for you, which is awful, but it's the reality. um so yeah, just it's difficult, but at a certain point you'll just reach this breaking point of like truly, what else can you do once you get a bad
Mm-hmm.
grade?
Mm-hmm. The stop time thing is something that I had to really think about a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and it helped me just because it really sucks, but some things can't be changed, and then you
Yeah.
just kind of have to accept it, whether it was because sometimes you do fail an exam or whatever because you didn't study enough or you weren't properly prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes some things go awry due to outside circumstances
Uh-huh.
that may have not been in your control. And even though it really sucks, I mean, even though it didn't feel like, even though you just felt so helpless at the time that the thing happened or whatever it was that caused the low grade,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of just dwell on it forever can really hurt you.
Yeah.
And I mean, you just have so many classes and grades ahead of you.
Mm-hmm.
Or not even just classes and grades, you just have so many things ahead of you. You have so many
Yeah.
days ahead of you.
So many more opportunities as a
Mm-hmm.
person in
Mm-hmm.
general. Yeah. And man, I hate saying stuff like this because like I know what people feel like. I mean, I still struggle with the feeling anyways, you know, that self-disappointment. But like again, like, you get a bad grade, you can't do anything to change it. What can you do? You can't
Mhm.
just sit there and forever and be sorry for yourself, or, beat yourself up, because that's not productive. I feel like it's not what I'm trying to be like, but I feel like I sound like those like alpha male podcasters that are like, do something about it. Get up and just do something.
Get up and work.
Yeah.
Oh my
Women
gosh,
these days don't want to work.
this is not alpha male, but I was just thinking of that viral clip where it seems like no one wants to work these days.
Yeah.
Gosh. It's just, bottom line, we hope that you are able to take a step back and assess what's going on. Similar to how they say dealing with anxiety, list things that you can see and smell and hear. I'm not trying to equate this to some psychological trick. We're not psychologists,
Mhm.
but it helps to take a step back and kind of assess what and observe what is in front of you,
Mhm.
and then reflect or kind of break it down, figure it out, digest it, and maybe come up with a plan. It doesn't have to be a super in-depth long-term plan, but even just an idea that you have for the future about this.
Mhm.
And then, of course, acceptance, which
Mhm.
makes us kind of sound like we're doing the stages of grief.
It is important though.
Mhm.
I'm really glad we had this conversation.
Me too.
I think this is something that would have helped me if I heard this, especially when I was
Mhm.
younger. I really hope that some people are listening and, either agree, or maybe are listening and, are taking note, or like learning new ways to,
Yeah, they're thinking about it.
yeah.
Because so right now is kind of summer, or
Mhm.
is approaching the summer season. But this episode, you don't have to listen to, because on YouTube or whatever platform you're on, you can just access different videos, right? You can
Yeah,
go
it doesn't
back to this
disturb.
whenever. And summer school is also a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're in summer school right now, you're stressed out about a midterm, or you got a midterm back, didn't do very well.
Relatable.
I'm
No,
sorry, I didn't know.
no, no, no.
We have relatable content, now we know.
We do.
And it's just such a big part of growing up Asian that we felt that it was a good time to talk about it.
For sure.
And we've talked about it in the past in different ways or in little tangents,
Mm-hmm.
and we thought that this Bob bath could be like a wholesome, kind of like serious sit down
Yeah.
about this specific experience
Mm-hmm.
of dealing with a bad grade.
Yeah. We really hope that you guys can relate, or are thinking about it. Maybe
We
like,
hope this did something for you.
reflecting. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, as always, thank you for tuning in today. We always appreciate your listens, your follows, subscribing. It means a lot to us.
Mm-hmm.
Hit that bell. Kidding. Don't forget to smash that like button.
Yeah. Comment if you're part of the notification gang.
Anyways, feel free to leave a comment about maybe tell us a story. Tell us about a time that you got a bad grade, how you dealt with it, how you maybe didn't deal with it. I mean, no one is always rational.
Relatable. I don't think I've been rational a day in my life, to be honest.
My goodness. That's another episode.
They call me Rational Rihanna. By they, I mean literally no one.
I don't know why, but when you said that, my brain was like, is that her rapper name?
Yeah, that's my
Rational
rapper name.
Rihanna. Lil Rational.
Lil Rational. That's good. I might need to cut this out in post so no one steals it. I won't.
No, by the time you're listening to this, it's already been copyright.
Yes.
Trademark. Don't even
By
bother.
the way, listen to my new single.
A Rational Thought.
Yeah. No, that'd actually be sick. Okay, enough of that. Sidetracked us enough.
Making rational decisions.
Decision making. That's the title of my album.
Yeah, decision making.
By Rational, Lil Rational.
Yeah, Lil Rational. Like all my life, they call me Rational Rihanna. Yeah, I'm not gonna do this anymore. In case you can't tell, I'm not a rapper. Anyways, where were we? We were talking about leaving a comment. If you wanted to, of course. Right, telling us a story about how you dealt with or didn't deal with a bad grade, any experiences you may have had, telling your parents about a bad grade. How did they react? How does it make you feel? How did you cope with that? Is it hard?
Yeah, maybe you have your own coping mechanisms. Please do share.
And not all parents are supportive and not all parents are unsupportive. Maybe your parent didn't explode on you, and maybe they're really supportive and understanding and they tried to help you work through it. It happened. Not to me.
Yeah, wouldn't know, but must be nice. Please do share. I'd like to hear about what that's like.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
And like we've said over and over, you're not your grades. It can feel like you are sometimes because of the way that school is and the way that society is. The whole pipeline of you go to school and then you're supposed to go to college, university, supposed to graduate and then get a job and then get a house, all that. And then it's all over. You're done. And it's tough. We're all just going through life, trying to figure things out. And just because you have an A in a class doesn't necessarily mean that you, because sometimes there are reasons why, like people say, and it's true, that just because you have a bad mark in a class doesn't always mean that you're actually bad at the thing. There's a lot of circumstances, and so the same applies to if you were to be doing extremely well in the class. Because sometimes, like we were saying, some teachers are maybe bad at teaching, or they don't really care. I mean, people have had experiences with teachers that don't care about their class, and don't leave a comment about anything you want. Maybe tell us your rapper name.
Yeah. Let's do it too. Anyways, if you guys like this episode and want to stay connected with us, check out our website in the description. It contains links to our streaming platforms such as Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and more. Follow us for more behind-the-scenes content, announcements, and other random things we decide to put on there.
Lil Rational out.
Oh my gosh.
Peace.
Oh, God.
See you next time.
Bye.